Also, like, good communication is always helping, like helping with people, being altruistic, and all those other stuff is the most important from my perspective. Like, so to summarize up, hard work and enable positive externalities with your network. And I would like to pass it on Livy.
Just hopped in, Livia, but the opening question is, what factors contribute to your success? Hey, Wonka.
That is a good question. Can you hear me well?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I've been thinking a lot about this, actually. Just feeling some trouble and focusing on my talk, for example, like made me reflect what is that could contribute for me to feel focused and to have discipline. And I think, well, there's a major factor of like being in transit for some time and how challenging that is, but also allowing for more flow, like finding, like, how can I find my time, the time that works for myself, and have that to be in sync with the group, with the community's time. So what types of, how can I contribute best async, and what calls are really important to join, how to like gracefully exit a call, for example, if needed. So I'm not sure. I feel like that could have a negative impact in the culture too, you know, of like, oh, what if I don't participate in a call that feels like a cultural ritual, but then what imbalance that has been bringing to me. Anyway, so I don't know if I have an answer to that, but it's something I've been actively thinking about. And I'll pass to Nate. Nate, have you got?
I haven't gone. No, thank you, Livy. So the question is, what are the factors that contribute to your success? I think the factors.
So it really is more not specific to TEC necessarily, unless you choose to answer that way, but just in your life, any moment.
I think that's, factors that contribute to success are just kind of the support system that I have, and the ability to minimize kind of ambiguity and uncertainty. And I think that has a lot to do because I'm a type of person who can, get lost in a lot of options. The burden of choice is real when it comes to becoming successful in any form or fashion. And so really narrowing it down to what you're trying to accomplish is really important to me, and being successful, and really having a good vision for the future. Like, what is it that you're actually trying to accomplish in the end goal? When I can see the future, it's very much easy. It's a lot easier for me to guide my direct next actions, and so I think that's a really big factor for me. So, yeah, and I'll pass it over to Wonka.
Thank you, Nate. I think that something that contributes to my success is that when things are hard, I try to give the best from myself. Like, sometimes when things are hard is when we easily show the worst of ourselves, but I try that when things are hard, I show the best of myself and I give the best of myself. And also that I don't like to push things. So if things are not flowing, I just don't push them, and I try to go with the flow. Yeah, I think those are two of my things. And I'll pass to Durgadas.
Please remind me what we're doing because I came in late.
Hey, welcome, Durgadas. So we are in the Stewards Council, and just the opening question for today is, what are the factors that contribute to your success?
Yeah, I don't have a sense of whether I'm successful or not. I'm just putting in my best effort. I have no attachment to any result. The moment I have any attachment to result, I take a break from this place so that I don't poison my own motivation. And so, yeah, success is not meaningful to me. I just am here giving my unsolicited advice as usual, and so whether people take that or accept that, I'm just here to say what I have to say, and if people like that, then it seems that that's true, and so people, it's nice to have people say, that's nice, but I have no concept of whether I'm successful, air quotes, or not. I just am here doing my thing, and I leave that to other people to determine if I'm successful or not.
It's just worth mentioning the question isn't necessarily specific to the TEC or even to your professional dimension.
Yeah, I just feel like that about everything, really. It's
Okay.
just that's just my fundamental, life thing. So yeah, thank you.
Maybe I'll pass it. I'm not sure if you know who's gone yet, but Zep hasn't gone yet.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I actually resonate a lot with what you were saying, Durga, but it's something I cannot do. Like, even when I was playing competitive games, like, I was trying so hard to not be too attached to the result, but the nature of the thing is like, you need to, the result matters. So, yeah, but I was trying so hard to not be attached to a result, and that's something that really resonated with me. And for me, factors that contribute to my success is like having like clear road to follow. Like sometimes it's like there's, I think Nathan was also saying, like there's so many things to do and you get lost, like panic of analysis or something. And if you have like a clear road to go, then it's when for me it becomes easier and I achieve better results. Yeah, I'll pass it to you, Tom.
Okay, maybe I'll just pass to Gideon. Take a look before me.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. For me, I would say it's like grit, determination, left over from like being a kid. That's a big factor for me. I think that things that require pattern recognition, like being able to see patterns in things, that's something that has been useful for me with work. Like kind of sensing where things are going, I guess. And then I think the other thing is just like optimism, like believing that things are going to be okay, and yeah, kind of trusting in that. I think there's a lot of power in that. Edu, the question is, what are the factors that contribute to your success?
Right. So, I feel like there's a lot of luck and awareness in my success. Like for me, it's just being aware of things. A little bit of what Gideon said regarding patterns. And there's this thing that I cannot put a word on, but it's this consciousness in self consciousness about when my body recognizes something as an opportunity. That happens to me quite a lot. I used to say that my only two talents were to find a house and to find a job, because I never apply, like I never sent a curriculum to any of the jobs I have had, and all the houses that I have lived are amazing houses that I just arrived by accident. So I always said that those were my two biggest successes in life. Now I just identify that there are some things that I became aware of, and I follow that lead. And that because I'm not a very constant person. I'm not like, I have other things that sort of counterbalance that. So I will say those two things, and awareness. And the last thing I will say is my freedom and my capacity to sort of be able to make decisions without any attachment. I don't know who's left, so back to you, Tam.
Yeah, it's just me, and I chose this question about 10 seconds before this call, so I haven't really had time to think about it either. And I feel like as everyone's talking, my brain's going all over the place, and it's like a little bit of I'd say like, okay, so the first thing is like I think I always had good intuition, even as a child. I had really good intuition, but now after like decades, it's like there's something like I just know things, and it's like, and especially as you have kids, mine are my oldest is now a teenager, and it's like you can see that they don't know things, and you're like, oh, I just know these things that they don't know. Like, so there's just like just experience. I don't know how else to say it. I feel like now that's a key factor in my current success at this stage in my life. Whereas in my 20s, I wouldn't have said that was necessarily part of a factor in my success at all. And then I have a little bit of OCD around details and things. And so just being like organized and detailed, like just an obsession with it, I think helps a lot for what I'm doing. So I gravitate towards work that's actually useful versus, work that wouldn't be so useful. There's a lot of creative works that I wouldn't be so good at because it's just other skills that I have. And then I would just say like, yeah, ambiguity. Like ambiguity is where I like to be. Like when things are like really fuzzy and unclear, and it's just like I feel like I'm really good at taking all this unclear and making clarity and then executing that. Like I feel like that's actually. And then the people I work with, I feel like the biggest factor in my success is working with amazing people. And it's not me, it's like, if anything it attributes to me, it's like that I'm good at choosing amazing people to work at. But other than that, it's like working with people who are also motivated and dedicated and compassionate and talented. It's like, that's a major factor in any success I have. It's you guys. And I think we've all gone now. So we don't necessarily have as much like one subject for today's council. So I think we are gonna, there's something already on the agenda. Thanks for adding this. And then 2 suggestions. I thought it'd be interesting since the first TE fundamentals cohort should be graduated by, December, I think. I'm not actually sure exactly when the dates are, but I expect in Q4 to maybe riff on this question of what should we be doing in preparation for TE fundamentals. There's another question, which is, what aligned projects that we have, side projects, parallel projects we know of that the TEC could bring value to. So maybe we get started. When asked about TE services, who is our point of contact? So this is just out of curiosity, whose question is this?
Mine.
I'd say right now it's really being incubated in Sampo. So probably Gideon is the best person to be the point of contact. And myself and Jeff are actively helping. Does that help?
So the question goes specifically about there are, the usual, sorry to derail. We can go to the question later on if you feel like.
Maybe we just take the moment.
Okay. So there is this typical user who joins and says, hey, I want you guys to help with this project. And there is the other kind of people who are like, hey, I have these projects. I heard about you, and we want actually to hire you for token economic advisor, whatever position. So the question comes to that person and to that group of people, not the random user who just won an hour session to tell you that their parameters are good or not. So my question is, who is the person do I have to send that people to?
This is a great. We've already been getting. So the interesting thing about this TE services demand board is that we already have clients and we haven't launched a service, but now we have Jeff, Zargam, Angela sending people to us because there's demand. So maybe I'm going to ask Gideon how he would like that, how he would like, whether he would like it you just start directing people to him now, or yeah, I'll just let Gideon answer that actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think you can send that traffic my way. We're gonna actually, Tam and I are talking right after this call, and so we'll talk about this. But for now, just send it my way. I mean, the first thing we're gonna do is basically build some simple intake process for being able to handle that. But the honest answer is right now we don't have good process for being able to actually meet that. So I think it's going to be more about expectation setting, but I can do that. You can send it away for now. This is kind of like research also for us.
Yeah, I think we do not have probably the process, but we may be able to identify who is the people who can provide the services. And yeah, I mean, I guess you have already thought about this, so I'm gonna shut up. But yeah.
Yeah. We did a small demo for sample working group about like the initial thinking this week, yesterday, the day before yesterday, and it maybe it can sort of help get the initial idea, but it's really it's not born yet, if that makes sense. It's so it's still you could imagine it's still in gestation phase. So yeah. I don't know if that helps, but I'd say maybe if you watch the sample, it's sort of towards the end that we just sort of like go like, here's what we're thinking right now in terms of the services. Okay, so let's hop to these two questions then, which is preparations for TE fundamentals, and TE services has a little bit to do with that actually. now that you've mentioned it, and aligned projects TE could bring value to. And I'd love for everyone to answer one or both questions, whatever you feel like you can contribute the most to. And maybe I'll ask Nate, would you be interested in getting us started?
Yeah, sure. So what should TEC be doing in preparation for TE fundamentals first cohort? The thing we can do is to be, sorry, am I answering the right question? Tam?
Yeah, and maybe it's maybe I should give a little more context. It's really Gideon that raises as a topic for discussion, but essentially in the coming months, before the end of the year, or maybe early next year, we'll have a large amount of token engineers that have graduated the TE fundamentals. And so the question is, how can the Token Engineering Commons, I don't know, help support them, bring them into the Token Engineering Commons? Really, the path is open.
And Tam, could I just add one? The other thing I was thinking about is that in the build-up from now to September, we're already seeing the Token Engineering Academy Discord servers really starting to pop. Like there's a lot of people coming in. And so I'm imagining that that's going to continue to grow between now and September and then on. So yeah, but is there anything that we can that we want from that for the Commons?
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to think about. I mean, outside of preparation for the fundamentals course coming, I think, basic communication, making sure that it's as impactful as it possibly can be. And then when the engineers do come through, I just think being a form of support within their Discord is going to be very valuable. And so anything that we can provide token engineers in terms of services, things that they can learn, ways they can participate, not just make sure that they don't lose their momentum coming out of that course, I think is really important to start providing. And that is because I think that the end goal here is to keep people engaged. People may take this course and move on if they're not engaged or people don't get involved with them as soon as possible. I think that's especially common with like new fields people are entering into, because there's not any other token engineers out there, and then nobody's going to hold their hand right away, and that's something that we need to help out with, whether it be mentoring program and or just saying, hey, here's something you can do and use your newfound knowledge towards. And so I think providing some utility for the thing that they just went through is keep them engaged and keep contributing to this field. So I just wanted to say that. And then the second question is, what align product? Yep.
Can I just sort of add something to that, or maybe I guess I question whether it's our responsibility to move TEs. Like, they're going to find jobs. They're going to find lots to do in the ecosystem. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they'll stop being token engineers if Token Engineering Commons doesn't provide them the next path forward. But I think it is interesting to figure out how we can bring token engineers who are newly graduated into the Token Engineering Commons community.
Sorry, Nate, go ahead.
No.
I will say the first one.
I don't really have anything to add. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to speak up. So what I will say is to this we have to talk about is to have the efforts in a single place rather than have two divided spaces. That's the first one. Secondly, to have a roadmap of expectations from both parts. What do we expect from the TE fundamentals, and what the academy expect from the TE fundamentals course? Do they have anything planned after the TE fundamentals? Do they have talk with companies to plug these token engineers there? Like, what is their expectations and what are their intentions afterward? The same for us, to align those two roadmaps, and then singularize our efforts in a single place rather than two different discords. The other thing that I will say is have very clear, at least a product or at least a service or at least something that we can directly offer or plug in with this course, like after or before or during the course. Could be use cases, could be many things, but just to have something very clear that TE Commons can provide or can receive, or whatever name you want to call it, to these students. So yeah, that's what I will think about. How about you, Libby?
There's a lot of wind coming through me now. Is it okay? I talked to the guys from Tokenomics DAO to see if we could still do those series of tokenomics exploration. And I think that could be something useful if, so Florian is still excited about it, and he was just asking what do we think is the best to start with. And maybe that could be something that we could have ongoing, then the first cohort could come in and continue contributing, and then we could have like a more extended series of tokenomics. And I'll pass to
Thanks, Levi. I actually disagree with what you just said, Tam, about like all these token engineers will immediately find jobs. Like, I feel like there will be like after people take this course, like there will be a lot of token engineers, like, and I don't think there is so much demand. So I really resonate with what Nate was saying, and something like I feel like it could give, and this economy, an economy is like if we could connect like not people who's looking for a job and people who is like looking for people to get the job done, and then like the TC would get some value of that, like for doing the intermediation work. So I think this is something like, I don't know if it's the scope of the TE service you guys are working on sample, but I feel like we should connect those two things, and then that would fund the commons, because like in any country, like normally what people do is they do their business, they pay taxes, and then the government got money to fund public goods. So in this case, should be the other way around. Like, we cannot force anyone who make business to pay us because we are not a government. But then we help people, we connect both parties, and then we get out something out of it that should go to the common pool or something. I think that'd be cool. I'll pass it to Juan.
Something that I think that is really good for people who is learning mediation is having role plays and simulations. So I think we can also have simulations around Hatch and Commons Upgrade, because that's a very cool way that the Token Engineering Commons could support the experimentation and the testing of the knowledge of these new token engineerings from the TE fundamentals course. And I don't know, I think like params parties were a really cool thing that we had, and maybe we could make some sessions to launch a commons with these people, but maybe in a simulation, or choosing some intention around it. I don't know. And aligned projects. Well, Gravity have been working with Aragon, and I think also Septi will start doing some contributions to Aragon too, from transparency. And also, well, all the really close communities that we have, like Giveth and Bright ID and OneHive. Yeah. I will pass it to Septi. You went, right?
Yeah, I already went. But what about Mert?
Thank you. Yeah. So I also agree with that. Like, it is very connect with these new token engineers with the projects that are seeking. So since we are now starting to host token engineering services, we can create like a shadowing program for those new token engineers. So they can have like, even we can give NFT badges to them, like, oh, I did a junior token engineering apprenticeship with like the experienced one. Let's say Shebnem is doing a project and I'm working with her. So it will make them much better. And then we can, like, as Sepp said, we can have some monetary benefits from it. Also, we can even do it like as not taxes, but more tipping services. For example, in PrimeDAO, in deals, we have a structure called tipping. People are just tip whatever amount they request, and most of the times they are tipping well. So we can have even more altruistic having back mechanism. So that's my comments on the fundamentals course. Maybe we can even create like tasks. For example, if we take a service, TE service intake, one of the experienced token engineers can separate the task and say, okay, one of, like, if you have TE fundamentals course, please feel free to do this diagramming job, and it will be open source. Whoever wanted to do can do. It's like creating apprenticeships and little tasks for them. For example, like, sorry, I talked a lot, but in the proposed inverter, we just created a thing called proposed inverter stack. Atta just created the diagram for all the services that may be implemented to proposed inverters mechanisms, such as like treasury management vaults, like, or contributor management tools. And for example, something like this can be created by the experienced token engineers, and it can be divided. And if you have TE fundamentals course, you can apply to do it, and if you do it, you'll get rewarded. Or like, there, you can play with it actually a lot. And regarding the aligned projects, I feel like maybe TEC can go beyond its like usual circle. So when I see Givit, Bright ID, One High, like those projects well know what TC can do. But for example, we can go over more like other kind of DeFi projects that can benefit more token engineering, or we can host something like I'm not really sure now exact thing, but just a code, we can say we can try to go beyond our usual circles. So that's my take, and I would like to pass it on. I think I'm Nate. Have you gone?
I think Gideon still
okay.
has to go. Okay, Nate.
Oh, sorry. So go ahead, Gideon. Sorry.
I think Gideon still has to go, but maybe before Gideon goes, I'm hearing a lot of ideas that are already sort of baked into this idea of TE services, and maybe some thoughts I want to share too. So I thought maybe we'll take 5-10 minutes and go do the same presentation that I did with Sampo to talk a little bit about it. One of the things that's important to mention here specifically is, you know, in my conversations with Angela around these TE services, we both wanted to make sure that it wasn't a competitive service with revenue streams that TE Academy is seeking for themselves, but it was complementary towards our shared mission of advancing token engineering. What I mean by that specifically is the Token Engineering Services Board is designed to be a place where people can come and post demands for token engineering services. And what the Token Engineering Academy is designed to supply token engineers. But part of their revenue model is then to receive fees for the referrals. So they have job fairs, and they have events where they have the supply that they can then match with projects and firms, you know, consulting firms, so that the Token Engineering Academy is able to support themselves. So I think that's also really important to sort of, you know, we work together, but also there should be revenue streams that respect the effort that goes into the production of the supply, or the product in this case. And I'm just gonna stop sharing this screen, and I'm gonna share a different screen for a minute. So this is a really, really what I call shitty first draft. So it's really rough. But if we sort of look at how this could work, it's going to evolve from here. But the basic idea is something like a job board for project demands. So this serves a bunch of purposes, right? The first purpose is we get a lot of demands for token engineering. Guess what? We're not the only ones. I know my DMs have lots of requests for token engineers. We already have referrals that point back to Gideon or myself, who, you know, somebody has asked somebody for a token engineer, and they've been like, oh, the Token Engineering Commons is going to work on something like this. Go talk to Gideon, go talk to Tamara. So there's already, you know, that sort of like word of mouth that the Token Engineering Commons is building something is already out there. And so the idea would be somebody could create a demand form, right? So the first step is we would create this very basic form that has discrete sections for token engineering projects. So a menu of token engineering services. We could start with things that are quite basic, like launching a gardens, and have much more advanced, complex demands, assuming that those would be things that would be, you know, consulting firms would be interested in taking on. And right now, the idea, all of this, but right now the idea is that the person or project demanding this token engineering service would stake some amount of tokens. So that would be a piece of the revenue that goes into the TEC. We could, you know, table for now whether they have to interact with ABC directly so that the tributes go into the commons pool, but just let's make that a detail that gets ironed out later. And so this demand either be something that has prior information that they want to keep private, or something that they want to make public. If it is something that they keep private, it's still seen by our alliance, and the alliance is another big part of what makes this service valuable to the TEC. It would be consulting firms, ourselves, and the Token Engineering Academy, who would be the people involved in this alliance. The projects that want to or accept to be public, make their demands public, like a job board, like I'm looking for this kind of token engineer to do this kind of service, would benefit from the publicity, specifically maybe on the forum, it might be on Token Log. We don't know exactly where, like these details are still have to be hashed out. But the point is that it would get the attention of the Token Engineering Academy cohort community, Token Engineering community, Token Engineering Commons, the Alliance communities, and it would also allow these projects to receive, suggestions. And also visible to other independent token engineers. Okay, so so here the idea would be like we have something like the firms in the alliance have a commitment to an hour and a half, 2 hours once a month, and we review the demands. The output of this is that the alliance might decide So there's a few things, right? Just from us having visibility into all these kinds of demands, we can get a better understanding of what kinds of token engineering services people need or want. So do they want to launch a DAO? Do they want help with token economics? Do they want to launch a token? Do they need help with governance? Do they want, to use conviction voting and to parameterize conviction voting or to parameterize an augmented bonding curve? So we can start to perhaps build squads that can support those services ourselves. And if it's beyond our capabilities, there will be these, bigger, consulting firms in the Alliance who would be able to provide feedback. So one of the things that have come up from the people that we've talked to who do intake for consulting firms is sometimes they have somebody who's like, I want to do this. And they're like, well, have you checked out this repo on GitHub? Because this already does that. It does something close. We don't need to necessarily build something new every time, but the consulting firms and the Token Engineering Academy and Token Engineering Commons have the expertise of knowing where they might be able to already do that using what kind of tools and apps that already exist. Improve the reputation of TE, right? So we have stronger support from token engineers that have been trained and are trusted and aligned. And it also offloads this step from these firms, right? It's a lot of incoming requests, asking lots of questions. It takes these firms lots of man hours to be able to answer and respond and to sift and scope. So this would be something that they get to just offload to the Token Engineering Commons for some, either they stake tokens or there's some fee. We can work out those structures later. And then it also is something that, it points to Token Engineering Commons as the place to get high quality token engineering services. So it ends up bringing more people to the Token Engineering Commons and boosting our reputation and perhaps in some other key ways our token utility. So if it's a good fit for the project, then they would essentially do the next step, which is they would go and have a call with the firm, an intake call. And this is where this idea of apprenticeship takes hold. So while they, let's say it's block science, that's like, this project sounds really cool. Let's do some scoping of this and see if it's really something that we are going to take on. Then somebody from the services group can shadow or be an apprentice for that intake, which is like the next level, the much more complicated question and answers of scoping out what a client really needs and what they really want and what they really need. And if it's not something that is taken on by any of the members of the Alliance, then it just stays on this board for some number of days. So going back to this model of like a job board, maybe it's like 60 days, you stake 10,000 tokens or whatever the number ends up being, TEC tokens, and you get to stay on the board for 30 days or 45 days or 60 days, whatever the number ends up being. And then, so in my conversations with Angela about this, we were looking at how this service can be complementary to the Token Engineering Academy and make sure that, we instead of competitory, what's the word? Competition, instead of being competition, that we're collaborators in this. And we came up with this idea that the Token Engineering Academy's role in this would be to help match graduates with projects. So one of the questions in this new demand form would be, do you want to hire a token engineer, or are you looking for consulting, like expertise from a consulting firm? So if you want to hire a token engineer, then the Token Engineering Academy would service those requests and would get the majority of the referral fee. So referral fees in general in, high-end technology company, like industries like this, are high 4 figures, low 5 figures. So that the bulk of that would go to the Token Engineering Academy, and some part of that would go to the service or the Token Engineering Commons, who's running the service. And then if they have a TE for the project, then it goes to the interview. And if the token engineer is hired, then the fee goes to Token Engineering Academy, with some percentage going to us, the Token Engineering Commons as well. I mean, so overall, this is like, this is like the MVP of like the first iteration of what the MVP could look like. There's a lot of benefits to the TEC, staking tokens, the reputation, and aligning with advancing token engineer. There's our close relationship with the Alliance now. This is great for budding engineers in the Token Engineering Commons, and also just understanding token engineering better. I think that I don't know of any place that yet has all of the different kinds of token engineering services, like a good map of what the token engineering services are. It's something that we would have to slowly build ourselves, and that in itself seems to be a public good for token engineering, to even be able to create a map of the discrete different services. And then for the Alliance, they get to offboard this and provide feedback to, improve the process and the forum. The Token Engineering Academy also gets to improve the process of the forum, but also this is like, rather than building this matchmaking service, they kind of just plug into it already. So there's that for them too. And then from the perspective of the, why would people use the Token Engineering Commons? Why would people use the Token Engineering Services Board for a demand? It's like, okay, well, we have this alliance. We have some recommendations. Of course, Block Science, Longtail Financial, maybe Tokenomics DAO. There is 3 or 4 other firms that were recommended who we've not had conversations with yet, but we'll be following up on conversations with them. And so that is pretty much what it, the idea is the first version of this is going to be like Amazon just delivering books, like where everyone thought it was a dumb idea because there was a Barnes and Nobles on the corner, but they were still just delivering books. The first version of this is going to be, we're just very simple, delivering a job board, it's a services demand board. And then slowly the bigger picture will be, being able to map out discrete token engineering services, maybe even providing standards for the entire industry. Creating this alliance, I'd love to see this alliance grow as demand grows. And then, of course, having token engineers be able to match with projects. Another idea around what Mert was saying was, there's a number of, there's a number of things that Jeff's input was super helpful, right? He's like, eventually this could be educate yourself through the token engineering. Like if somebody demands token engineering services, is it, hey, do you actually really want to learn about token engineering and take ecosystem value flows and do stakeholder mappings and do stock and flow diagrams? Or do you just want to hire someone to do that for you? And if they actually want to do it, then we can sort of provide educational resources for them to follow through that journey to become more knowledgeable themselves. But if it's something that they're just like, no, we just want to hire people to do this for us, then there's probably token engineers that can do just that little piece, for fees. And then as the service arm, that there would be some sort of revenue stream back into the TEC for providing this service to match these supply and demands. So that's sort of what it looks like right now. It's really still very, I'd say, nascent and still being born, but yeah, that's the current thinking. Since I just spoke for a long time, I want to open up the floor to see if there's any questions or comments that anyone wants to make.
Yeah, I will say that I feel it's a very I like the cohesiveness and the simplicity of the first steps, and I feel it's what I will think it's important for all the alliances members or for everyone who's part of this is that we are taking the commons idea to the ecosystem point. Like, I feel we are trying to build a full-fledged ecosystem for token engineering, and it will be nice to understand that what you make clear with Angela about this is not competition. This is just trying to grow the ecosystem. So I feel like having that expectation set up will be really helpful for everyone engaged in this. And I think it will be also a narrative that will be easy to follow for anyone. So that's my 2 cents. Back to you, Tim.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Eduardo. Anyone else want to share thoughts, initial reactions as we're sort of gonna, I would say, improve this in the coming weeks? Okay. All right.
It's really nice to see how it's evolving. Congrats to all the involved ones.
It's hard to hear you, Livia.
I just want to say congrats. It's great.
Oh, cool. Yeah. There's a lot of thought that went into it so far, but we have more to do. Okay, then, well, Gideon, I sort of jumped in before you because I was starting to see that a lot of the preparation for TE fundamentals that came out of the collective intelligence of the stewards was already sort of being incorporated into this design idea, the services board idea. But I know you said your service is unstable. Is your service stable, and do you want to share anything around preparation for TE fundamentals or the services itself or aligned projects TEC could bring value to?
No, I was just thinking more in terms of like, as these people are coming into the academy and as they graduate, can we turn the commons into a place where, they think of this as like the place where they naturally gather for their calling, like to hang out with other people who have similar values, have similar drives, want to learn together or continue, I don't know how we distinguish that from the academy. They'll probably want to continue to learn. But what are the other things that we should be thinking about in terms of, if this truly is a Schelling point, what are the things that we should be offering? I mean, clearly there's all of this, connecting them with clients, but like, what are the other facets? It's more just a question.
Okay, and then hello, Pedro. Welcome to the Stewards Council. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Oh, there you go. I see that you've unmuted, but no audio is coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
There you go. Well, hello everyone. I'm an alumni of the governance program. It was amazing to be part of the DAO rewards system research between 2021 and early this year. I am very interested in following the progress of the TE fundamentals of mental health and DAO patterns. I've been a DAO enthusiast since 2018. I know maybe a couple people here, and that's pretty much it. Looking forward to seeing where this is going to.
Cool. Well, welcome. Well, then I guess I'll go last. In preparation for the TE fundamentals first cohort, I mean, the one thing that comes to my mind is what we've already been thinking about in terms of creating a place to allow Token Engineering Academy to match their graduates with projects and also consulting firms, at least maybe the consulting firms in the Alliance. I know that they have plans to match with other organizations in more like real life events, like job fairs and that kind of thing, and probably other plans as well. I support the idea of having one community. I don't know what that looks like and what next steps we have to take for that to happen, but I think that that is probably the natural progression to where we're headed. And then aligned projects, I mean, you know, there's a lot of refi projects. There's going to be a refi DAO. I think that there is something interesting around what the refi DAO is doing, which is going to be, you know, really a group of many different refi organizations, and how the TEC can, you know, that are naturally aligned with what we're doing, and how the TEC can maybe help in those ways. But yeah, I don't have an answer to that either. So I just want to open the floor. Does anyone else want to add anything about anything we've discussed so far? Otherwise, we're going to move to the next agenda item. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, Juanca. Gravity report to Aragon for services provided. Do you want to share?
Yeah, Tam. You know that almost 3 months ago, or a little bit more, we started this first provision of service to a external DAO from the TC that was Aragon, and that funding was for 3 months. So right now we were requested to make a report of the things we've done in Aragon according to the planned things that we had and the goals that we had from the proposal who received funding, and also the execution. So yeah, I just wanted to share with the stewards the continuous effort we are doing in Gravity to grow as a service DAO, to be able to provide services to our communities. Some of the work we've been doing, that we are having some training for the community. Also that we've been helping a team that is called the Umbrella Team, who is like the conflict management team inside Aragon, that we are giving them some of our toolings, and that we have also mediated in some cases, and we opened our mediation service for the Aragon community. So we have handled 2 cases there, and it hasn't been easy because it's like our first offering of services. But I think that from this we are learning a lot. We didn't charge the full budget from the proposal. We understood that some of the execution was not achieved, so we didn't charge for what we didn't do. And we are more or less closing this first initial season, and maybe we would receive additional funding from the next season of the proposal being funded by Aragon. And yeah, this may be something that all of the working groups that would be providing services could do at some point. So yeah, I just wanted to share If there is any feedback, I will be presenting this tomorrow. And yeah, for me, it's also something that I feel very proud for, and something that hasn't been easy. But yeah, we are doing it.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Wonka. Okay, so that's the end of our agenda. So final chance to say anything in the last 3 minutes, or we'll end the call. Yeah, and I agree that it's really, really nice work, Wonka. All right. Thanks everyone for joining today. Update your slides. Update your slides for our community call.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.